not a bad thing. Okay, here we go. This shir is on Zoom, and it's on Facebook, and on YouTube, and on Inside Hasidus Live. So it's von alle Seiten, Baruch Hashem. Okay, here we are. Now, Rabbi say, I've been giving a shir all week on V'yata Tetzaveh, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we finished perek Aleph, Beis Gimel, and Dalet. We're holding by perek Hey, okay? So let me tell you what's going on. And by the way, Sunday night, I highlight that there'll be a class. I'm going away for Shabbos. My daughter, so Gezunz, is making an upsherenis. It's our first upsherenis in our contingent to the family. It's a Simcha Gedela V'Rabba Baruch Hashem. And I'm going to be traveling, so I suppose Sunday won't be any classes, but Monday and Tuesday, and I'm hoping Wednesday will be also a shir, not the Tetzaveh, with Hashem's help. If it's an opportunity to have a shir, I'll give. If I'm able to give even Matzah Shabbos 10 o'clock. People can't just suddenly be there because I found an opportunity to give a shir, but that's just the way it works. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on is this. Number one, there are two key code phrases, if you will, that we had so far in V'yata Tetzaveh. The first key code phrase was L'kasher u'lechaber es Yisrael l'meidin seif, to tie and to bind the Yid with Eidin seif. That's one expression. The second expression is Lozun u'lefarnes es Yisrael b'inyan emunah, to provide mezainis and panasa for the Jewish people when it comes to matters of faith. Those are the two expressions. So the Rebbe says that Moshe Rabbeinu, V'ata Tetzaveh, what's Moshe Rabbeinu's inyan? Like one of my students on Facebook sent me, he learned from me maybe 6-7 years ago. I used to use the expression that this pasuk, V'ata Tetzaveh, is Hilchas Rebbe. It's the laws of what a Rebbe is. That Moshe Rabbeinu's inyan is L'kasher L'chaber es Yisrael l'meidin seif, laws of the Farshal Binyan Emunah. And then the Rebbe said, this is Pashtus of the Moshe B'chol Dor V'Dor. This is not limited just to Moshe Rabbeinu Hagashmi, but in every generation there's an neshama which has the same role as Moshe Rabbeinu, and he gives Yidden Emunah. Then the last thing that we learned was Kosis Lamoyer, that in generations of Shmad, when Yidden are being crushed, they're Magali Yechidah Shebenefesh. So the Rebbe immediately jumped on this, and he saw it as a stira. First we say, in every single generation, the Moshe Rabbeinu gives Yidden Emunah. And then we say, Kosas Lamor, in the Deiros HaShmad, there's a special inyan of Moshe Rabbeinu giving Yidden Emunah. So the Shaila was, is it only in Deiros of Shmad, or is it in all Deiros? So the Rebbe did something which you don't have much of in Chassidus, which is a Havamin Teretz. A Teretz which he later slugs up. What's the Havamin Teretz? The Havamin Teretz was that Takeh, every Rebbe gives Yidden Emunah, but it can't be compared to those Rebbes who are in the Deiros of Shmad, Kosas Lamoyer, because they do it better. And he explained it from the pasuk V'kibel Ehud Meseh Sherechelu Laseis, that even though when the Eibusha gave us a Torah, we were in a very high level, and the Stoya Purim, we were in a very, very low level. In one prat, Purim is even higher than Matan Torah. So the Rebbe is saying that in every generation, the Rebbe is Mekayim, the inyan of V'ata Tetzaveh, but only in certain generations there's the inyan from Kosas Lamoyer. This is what the Rebbe was Matzia, Rebbe proposed. So now everything is right? Moshe Rabbeinu is Metaves B'nai Yisrael. The Nasi, the Rebbe of every single generation is of B'nai Yisrael. But Kosas Lamoyer is only in generations of Shmad. And then the Rebbe came back and said, nope, not a good teretz. Why? Because of location. Because of what's called in Yeshivish Smuches. If you look at the arrangement of the Maimer, you see, says the Rebbe, that the Friedrich Rebbe means that in every generation is inyan of Kosas Lamoyer, not only in Deiros of Shmad. In other words, the Hava, the teretz was that even though in every single generation Moshe Rabbeinu is Makasher, u'mechaber, as Yisrael made it safe. The patient Rabbeinu Zon umefanes as Yisrael binyan emun. But only in Deiris Hashmad doesn't even cost us Lamor. Says Rebbe, that can't be true. Because if you look at the Friedrich Rebbe's mind, you'll decide for yourself that the Indian of Kostas Lamor is in every generation, even in generations where there is no Shmad. And the Rebbe says that makes no sense. Is Kostas Lamor in generations of Shmad? Or is Kostas Lamor in every generation? And if Kostas Lamor is in every generation, so what's the Chiddush of generations of Shmad? This is the question that the Rebbe sort of asks at the end of Perek Dal. Now Rabbi says, I told you yesterday, I'm great at suspense. I don't know how to keep it at all. So I'm going to tell you what's going to happen here. What's going to happen here is the Rebbe is going to make a split, a Palgin and Dibura. He's going to say every Rebbe in every day has the Shaykhis to Mo'ir. But not every Rebbe, not every day the Shaykhis to Kostas Lamor. That's going to be his tenets. You separate Kostas from Lamor. Kostas Taka is only in certain datas, but Lamor is in all generations. If you look inside, on page Lamed Zayin of Yomayim, in other words, in Perek Hey, the beginning of the second paragraph, the first line, it says Sheha'inyan de Kostas in parenthesis Lamor. The meaning to say that Taka, not every Rebbe has the Inyan of Kostas Lamor, but every Rebbe has the Inyan of Moed without Kostas. And that's going to be the Rebbe's resolution. That's going to be the Rebbe's tenets. In other words, we're not going to say that in some generations there's Kostas Lamor, and in other generations there isn't Kostas Lamor. We're going to say that in some generations there's Kostas Lamor, but in every generation there's Lamor. And that's what the Rebbe is going to now explain to us. Now, let me say one more thing before we start. And the one more thing I want to say before we start is that the Rebbe has a huge chiddush in this maimer. In other words, the Rebbe says something in this maimer that's different than what the Friedrich Rebbe says, that's incredibly novel. And this chiddush of the Rebbe is going to be flushed out by this shaila of Moed and Kostas Lamor. What's going to be the Rebbe's chiddush? The Rebbe's chiddush is going to be that a Rebbe does not have one task, but two tasks. Not one job, but two jobs. In other words, when we learn the Friedrich Rebbe's Maimed, the in of a Rebbe is Lakasher or Lachaber es Yisrael Lemedin Seif. Or in other words, Lozlun or Lafarnes es Yisrael Binyan Emunah, but it's only one job. The Rebbe is going to divide the Rebbe's task into two jobs. And by dividing the Rebbe's task into two jobs, he's going to explain this inyan. That B'tad Echad, every Rebbe has a Shaykhis to Mo'ed, even though not every Rebbe has a Shaykhis to Kostas Lamor. Okay? Now we're going to learn inside now. V'yesh Levayas, that says the Rebbe, we now have a kasha. The kasha that we now have is Kostas Lamor, unique to generations of Shema. There is Kostas Lamor in every generation. And you cannot say that Kostas Lamor is only in generation of Shmad, and not in generations of Shmad. Taka Mesha Rabbeinu Zon and Francis is over. There's no in Kostas Lamor, because the Maimed of Friedrich Rebbe seems to be suggesting that in every generation you have a Shaykhas Rinyan of Moed. The teretz to this kasha is Alpi HaYadua, by bringing a chiddush of a famous thing. In footnote 31, he's mitzaying to different Makedas, including the Hemshchayim Beis. The Zesha Yisrael Ma'aminim Belakus Be'emunah Pshuta. Yidden have a moon in the Eibush which is plain. Ve'ein tzrichem rayes al zeh, they need no proof. Says the Rebbe, this itself, that Yidden have an emunah which is not based on proof, whom in such a time, it itself has two time. Now we talked about this the other day. Goyim can have emunah also. And I explained to you the other day that the inyan of emunah is a diluk, it's a leap of faith. In order to have emunah, you have to make a jump. Ariberspringen. What does that mean? You can be the smartest guy in the world. You can dedicate your whole life to the philosophy of God. If God is an idea, if the Eibush is a concept, if the Eibush is a philosophia, you have no relationship with him. Right? If the Eibush is a concept, the Eibush is a svara, if the Eibush is a higoyin, you have no shaykhis mit the Eibush. If you're going to have a shaykhis with the Eibush, you have to let go of your seichel and surrender to the Eibush. This is called in English a leap of faith. Without that leap of faith, you're not a maimin. A person who philosophizes about God, then believes there's a God, then has proof there's a God, then argues there's a God, but doesn't personalize God, has no relationship with him. He's an idea. Just like you can study a personality and have no relationship with that personality, you're theoretically studying a persona, the type of man or person. The same is true with Nebishten. Nebishten is an idea. So if anybody has a relationship with the Nebishten, there's a deal. You got to let go of the brain and let the neshama function. This is true of a guy also. But Chassidus says, this is the Maimonim of Pesach, that although goyim are capable of emunah, and the pshat emunah, as I just mentioned, this dialog, is letting go and developing a connection. But by a goy, it has to start with seichel. First he has to learn, first he has to understand, first he has to be convinced, and then he can make a leap. By Yidden, it's ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim. Yidden do not need to make a leap to have a relationship with the Eibishter. Yidden naturally have emunah. In other words, a Yid doesn't have to start with seichel. They go from seichel to emunah, he's naturally a ma'aminim. Ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim. And this is one of the ideas that says in Chassidus that ideas that the great philosophers could not understand, a small Yid knows mitzad the inyan of emunah. Ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim. In other words, Avraham Avinu, I explained this to you yesterday, Avraham Avinu started with his brain, he went from his brain to his soul. But we have a Churi Meirei Shamana, we inherited that, right? Ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim means we inherited from Avraham Avinu his emunah. So we don't need to create emunah through our seichel, we have it b'Yerusha. So Yidden are different than Goyim and this inyan of ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim. A Yiddish emunah does not have to first be brain, and then you have to jump past the brain to the soul. You can start right away with the soul, because Yidden are ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim from Avraham Avinu. Comes again, the Rebbe don't pay the case, says you should know there's two levels in this. The idea that a Yid is a maimin has two levels. What are the two levels? Number one, Lefisha Mazlayu Chazi. Because the level of the neshama which is called mazel. And mazel, the literal translation of the word mazel means a drip. A source from which it drips, which goes on chaya. The neshama shalamayla, the mazel, the subconscious, the chaya of the neshama. Reya Lakus sees godliness, which is called the Re'iyah Shalamayla Miseichel, it's a vision which is higher than reason. Says the Heilige Rebbe, V'zepel b'haneshama shebeguf, it influences the neshama in the body, Ha'emunah b'Lakus, to believe in the Eibush. I told you the other day the story of the Tzemach Tzedek, where a chassid came running to the Tzemach Tzedek and said to the Tzemach Tzedek that he has fakest nemunah. So the Tzemach Tzedek asked him a question. Have you ever seen the Kesar? Have you seen the Tsar of Russia? I've never seen the Tsar. So the king, so the Tzemach Tzedek asked him, how do you know that there's a Tsar? Maybe there's no Kesar. Maybe the people from the big city made up this idea that there's this phantom man who's like a Superman, and there's no such thing as a Kesar. So the Yid says to him, Tzemach Tzedek, nay, that's not true. Because my brother lives in a big city. And my brother was once at a parade. And he saw with his own eyes the king. And then he says, "Un Rebbe, mein Bruder is nicht kein Ligne." He says, "Rebbe, my brother would not lie to me." This is what this exchange in the Yid and the Tzemach Tzedek. So the Tzemach Tzedek said to this Yid, "Benicha Ligne? Am I a liar?" So the Chassid got very shaken up by the question. He said, "Chas v'sholom, of course not. The Rebbe can't possibly tell a lie." So the Tzemach Tzedek says to him, "Gleib mir," says, "Da Gott ich hab ihm gesehen." Believe me, there's a God. I saw him. You believe your brother there's a tzad. Believe me that there's an Eibishter. Just like your brother wouldn't lie to you, and if he told you he saw, I wouldn't lie to him. If I told you I saw. This is the Maisa. Why am I telling the Maisa? Because that's exactly what Mazle Chaza means. You have a level of neshama called Mazle, subconscious. You have a level of neshama called Naran, or consciousness. Your subconscious sees, so your conscious believes. Just like the Tzemach Tzedek sees and the Chassid believes, the neshama called Mazel sees Elokus, it sees the Eibishter. The conscious human being cannot see the Eibishter, but she believes that the Mazel wouldn't lie to her. If the Mazel says, I see, the Naran says, I believe. This is called Ma'aminim Damina, Yidda Zamuna, unconscious, and without a need for rayas, not making any jumps. Why do I believe in the Eibishter? Because my subconscious came to me and he told me, like the Tzemach Tzedek said to this Chassid, I see the Eibishter, so the consciousness says, I believe you. That's one basis for Amunah. Ve'ed bir, but there's another explanation for Amunah. The sheidish emunah mi'etzem neshama. That a yid has belief not from the madrega called mazel, which is b'kolos chaya, but from the neshama's etzem. Etzem means the neshama as it exists in relationship with itself. Shalamayla mi mazel chaza, and etzem is higher than mazel. And let's say b'kolos, mazel will call chaya, and etzem will call yechid. Even though the time, by the way, this is one of those weird things. In this entire Maimah, the Rebbe never mentions the words chaya and yechida. In footnote 46, in the footnote 46, you have the lashon chaya, which is how I know that mazel means chaya. But besides in footnote 56, the Rebbe is very strict not to use the classic language of chaya and yechida. He uses the lashon mazel and etzem, and I'm sure there's a reason, and I have no clue why. The Rebbe says the higher kind of emunah, which is not based on rayis v'seichel, is that the etzem haneshama is one with the Eibishter. And he says, when you say that the etzem haneshama has emunah, because it's attached to the Eibishter, he is kashrus atzma. It's a connection on the level of etzem, like a connection of something with itself. His kashrus atzma means I'm connected to you like I'm connected to me. It has no cause. You can't even say that it's because he sees. What is above? You see, your subconscious sees God. So there's two things. There's your subconscious and there's the Eibishter. Your subconscious, your mazel taps your consciousness on the shoulder and says, so there's the subconscious and then there's the consciousness. The subconscious sees, the conscious believes. There's two different entities. Yechida believes in the Eibishter not because he's having a conversation with anybody. Yechida believes in the Eibishter because he's one with the Eibishter. And the emunah which comes from Yechida is belief siba. You're not going to say that there's two steps. Number one, the neshama sees. Number two, the person believes. The believing and the seeing are one and the same, because on the level of the Yechida, it's etzem. So let's be clear. A guy has emunah, can make a leap of faith, but it has to come after seichel. A yid has emunah, maminim de maminim. But in maminim de maminim, gufa, there's two madregas. Madrega number one is because mazle chazim, my subconscious sees, so my consciousness believe. And the second one is my etzem haneshama is one with the Eibishter, so therefore I believe. What's the difference between the two? The difference between the two is on the lower level of mazle, you're believing somebody else. Safe kosef. On the level of etzem, the level of yechid, you're not believing anybody else. This is your own etzem. And there's a huge difference in believing another person, no matter how credible that person is, and knowing it from yourself. Says the Rebbe, who amongst the differences between a yid who has a munah because his subconscious sees, therefore his consciousness believes, and the idea that the neshama is one with the Elohim of the neshama is as follows: the munah b'haneshama when I believe in the Eibishter, because my subconscious sees, says the Rebbe, it's indirect, it's hidden. Since the neshama which sees is lamayla me'eslapshus, is above the consciousness of the person, even though it's influencing the neshama in the guf to have emunah, but it's emunah, but it's indirect. If somebody else comes to you and says, I saw God, and you believe him, 100% you believe him. Bottom line is, the information is coming from someone outside of you. And because the information is coming from outside of you, you believe that there's a God, but you don't believe in that God enough to do what he tells you. Continues the Rebbe, and he says, on the other hand, in order for the conscious person to have emunah, it should be internal. In other words, that the emunah should actually affect the person's practical behavioral life. Is by revealing the bond, which is on the level of etzem. That means in relationship with self of the etzem haneshama. Because when we speak about the pintalid of the etzem haneshama, he etzem shel haneshama hamulobeshet beguf. It's the essence of the whole neshama, including the neshama which is in the body. When your etzem haneshama gives you emunah, it's bepimiyusa, it's internalized. In other words, if you want to understand the difference between these two amunas, think of it in this way. The first amunah is somebody else tells you there's a God and you believe him. And the other one is you know by yourself that there's a God because you're one with him. It says that when somebody else tells you there's a God, you believe him, but they don't necessarily act on it. But when you know from inside yourself there's a God, since that knowledge that there's a God is one with you, the likelihood of the emunah translating into behavior and following the Eibush is much, much stronger. So what did we just learn in this paragraph? That there's two types of emunah. Emunah from Chaya, I believe in the Eibush, but it's not strong enough to make me change my life. And emunah from Yechida, which is the etzem of all the madregas of the neshama, and kol nekechas hagiluyim, which is emunah which will actually help me change my life. Right? Those are the two concepts of emunah that we just had. Says the Rebbe Alpiza, therefore, now that I just explained to you that you have two types of emunah, yesh levayir kesher ha'anyonim shebamayim. Let's go back to the Friedrich Rebbe's Maimer. How did the Friedrich Rebbe's Maimer go? Point one. Lekasher lechabet salam medin sof laws ulefanes as Yisrael binyan amur. That's point one. Point two is pashtusa the meisha b'chol daughter of a daughter in every generation is meisha rabin. Point three, kosas lamoy. And the kasher right away became is the inyan of Rebbe only in generations of Shmad or in all generations. So the Rebbe gave us a short introduction, 10 lines, and in these 10 lines he established that there's two types of faith. One type of faith is because my subconscious sees and my consciousness believes. The other type is my essence is one with the Eibush and therefore I believe. And the nafkamina is when my subconscious sees and I believe, that faith is strong for me to believe, not strong enough for me to act. But when I reveal how the faith comes from within me, myself, the amunah is bepnimius. So the Rebbe says, let's now answer our question. Al pi zeh yesh levayir kesher ha'anyonim shebamayim. Let's tie together, let's string together all the points in the Maimer. The kivin de moy. Look, I skipped the word kosses. Kins yechida. Bo behemshech follows after. Lebir ha'iyad that I am mehem, explaining what Moshe Rabbeinu is. And what's Moshe Rabbeinu? Zeh Moshe zon u'mefanes amunah shetia bepnimis. Moshe Rabbeinu provides mezenis and parnasa. That Yiddish amunah should be internalized. And of course, this is not just Moshe Rabbeinu Hagashmi. This is Pashtusa de Moshe. Every single Rebbe in every single generation has this inyan. It's only because we revealed etzem and neshama shalamayir lemimaz. In other words, mar shalamayir. Why? Because how did this whole conversation start? 2 days ago. This conversation started with the idea that we're all ma'aminim, b'nei ma'aminim. We don't need Moshe Rabbeinu for faith. Faith we have from other medicine. So why do you have Moshe Rabbeinu if you don't have to have Moshe Rabbeinu for faith? And the answer is you need Moshe Rabbeinu to internalize the faith. Ure'ei yamunah. The emunah should have das. So the Rebbe says, if I have emunah from my mazel, my emunah is not going to have das. If I have emunah from my mazel, emunah, why? Because mazel believes in, my mazel sees the Eibush and I believe and I don't do anything about it. If I'm going to have an emunah in the Eibush and if I'm going to change my life, it has to be from the Madrega V'Yechid. It has to be from the higher Madrega. And that's the meaning of the word Lamor. So the way you read the pasuk is as follows. Forget the word kasses. Every Rebbe, in every generation, has to reach Yechid. Because if a Rebbe doesn't reach Yechid, only reaches Chaya, so Chaya is good enough to believe, but it's not good enough to believe enough to act based on that belief. So you have to read the pasuk v'ata tetzava Moshe Rabbeinu, and it's pashtusa de Moshe b'chol daughter v'daughter. Tetzavas b'nei Yisrael's mekasher u'mechaber as Yisrael meaning safe. He brings about the zon u'mefanes as Yisrael b'nyan emunah. V'yichoi lech Hashem es ha'izach moir, because the Rebbe touches Yechid. And you skip the word kasses. That's how you read it. Every Rebbe touches the Yechidish Nefesh of every Yid and wakes it up, whether there's kasses or there's no kasses. Sure. And of course, in our generation, this is not a matter of emunah, it's a matter of metzias. Anybody's been around the Rebbe knows how the Rebbe used to wake up Yiddish and Neshamis. With the Telta Mais, with Yankel Hecht, all over Sholem. So he was once by the Rebbe after a Fabrengen. And the Rebbe told him it's a pity that Meir Abesera was not there. Meir Abu Chatzir lived in East Flatbush. And he used to come to all the weekday Fabrengas when I was growing up. And he stood behind the Rebbe on the Mizrach side. In other words, facing the Rebbe to the left. From the Rebbe's angle was to the right. And sometime during the weekday Fabrengas, the Rebbe would turn around to him. And he would start to whistle. And he knew how to whistle. You've watched him whistle. He would whistle till there was no air in his lung. He used to say that in this whistle, he would whistle till there was nothing left. So the Rebbe said to Yankel Hecht, the pity that Meir Abu Chatzir was missing by Fabrengen, but you can't machen noch by the tshuva. Meir Abu Chatzira whistled, and Bali Tshuva happened. You tell me how that works. How does that work? The Rebbe touches Yechida. And not just the Rebbe touches Yechida, every Meisha Rebbe touches Yechida. Because if you don't touch Yechida, the Emunah you're giving Yidden, they have Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu gave Yidden Emunah in a way that could be Makif. If a Yid is going to have Emunah from Meisha Rabbeinu, which is going to be better than, more than, the Emunah that he has from Avraham Avinu, it's going to be Urei Emunah, it has to be more. And that's how the Rebbe answers the question. That even though the Frierdiker Rebbe brings Kosis Lamoir, but Kosis does not apply to all Rebbes. But Moir does. Because without the Rebbe, we have Emunah on the level of Chaya. I believe in God, my subconscious taps me on the shoulder and says, Hezachai Yosef Yitzchak, you should know there's a God that can see him, and I say to my subconscious, I believe you. And then I go to something I'm not allowed to do. So my subconscious comes to me and says, how you talking? I said, listen, I told you I believe you, I didn't tell you I'm changing my life. Yechid, on the other hand, is that the Emunah should be b'pnimiyas. And that's called Lamoir. So you take a word kosis away and you say Lamoir. That's it. Every Rebbe the Shach is Tamoir. What's taka with the word kosis? What about the word kosis? The Rebbe concludes. Umasha kosov kosis Lamoir. The pasuk says kosis. And we're ignoring the word kosis. And we're just reading the word Lamoir. But fart, but still it says the word kosis in the Maimed. Mevayir b'hamayim the pshat is azoy. Shekidei lagir la'amoy take. It's one thing to touch the moed, to be me'eded emunah. It's another thing to reach the moed and reveal the moed itself. Ayadei ha'inyan the kosis shebas managos. That only happens to being crushed in the times of galos. Ki iker hagile the etzam anasham moed. True, every Rebbe touches moed, but not every Rebbe reveals moed. And for the Rebbe to reveal etzam anasham moed, for this you have to have B'siris Nefesh, which is Ikir B'sman Agos, because the Lakam and explain later on. So the Rebbe does a split. Right? By touching the Yechid. In Deireis Hashmad, in those generations where Yidden have to come out to B'siris Nefesh, then the Megala the Yechid. In other generations, the Rebbe touches the Yechidah. But there's a very big difference between the word touching the Yechidah and revealing the Yechidah. Moshe Rabbeinu, in every generation, touches Moed, but the Moed is not B'his Galus. He touches the Yechidah, so the Chaya should be B'ptimias. But for the Yechidah itself to be B'his Galus, this you have to have Shas Hashmad, Kosis Lamoed. Okay? Tell me if I was or I wasn't clear. I think I was clear. Was I clear? Yeah, thank you. Okay, I am falling asleep, so I'm going to get myself what I call obnoxious, some coffee. I'll be back in a minute, okay? Don't go no place. I'm letting the camera run. Kum shoyin tzedek. Okay, we're here. We're back. I'm sorry about that. Okay, weiter. V'ha'inyan. Now we're reading Perek Vav. You have to understand Perek Vav as Poshet, a Pirosh on Perek Hey. That's it. The Rebbe is not adding a new idea in Perek Vav. I'm sorry, but what he said in Perek Hey, he will explain. So let's repeat Perek Hey one more time, and then we'll do the Chiddush, so to speak, of Perek Vav, the Biur of Perek Vav. It is Perek Vav is pushed up Pshat on Perek Hey. What did we say in Perek Hey? We said, number one, every Rebbe has a shaykhis to Moir, not every Rebbe has a shaykhis to Kosis Lamoir. And we explained why. Because the role of a Rebbe is not to give us a Munah. A Munah you have from Avraham Avinu. The role of a Rebbe is to Imam Shach Munah B'Pnimius. A Munah B'Pnimius has to come from Yechida. Because a Munah from Mazel, a Munah from Chaya is classic Makif. In other words, a Yiddu as a Munah from Mazel is the same thing as Avraham Avinu's a Munah. I believe in the Eibush and I do whatever I want. So every Rebbe Ziva has to be Moir. But not every Rebbe is Kosis, that's only in Shnei Sashmat. What's the difference? Kosis Lamoir means that the Yechida itself is revealed. Moir without Kosis means the Yechida is touched, but not revealed. And that's how you have to understand the Frierike Rebbe's Maimah. Yeder Rebbe, if he's a Rebbe, touches Yechida, but not every Rebbe is able to be Megala the Yechida. To be Megala the Yechida, is even from Kosis. Okay? And now the Rebbe says, I'm going to explain to you what I just said. V'ha'inyan. Like I said to you a moment ago, Perek Vav is Poshet, a Pshat, it's a Biur, it's a Pirosh on Perek Hey. V'ha'inyan, the Pshat is as follows. The fact that you'd never Munah. But often in such a way, that he's ready to die because of his Amunah. Who be'ikir is primarily be'amunah shemitad neshama. When the Amunah is from the revelation of the etzem neshama. The Amunah, when a Yid has Amunah, the mitad shurei mazlechazi. His subconscious sees, and therefore his consciousness believes. Hagam she betake of Gadol. It may be true that it's very strong. Okay, do like it says in Chassidus and other places, the highest samtus shemitzad Torah samtus delabiyesed. Seeing is believing. If your neshama sees godliness, it's very, very powerful. Nevertheless, kiven she'emunah shalei mitzad siba. Your faith is with a cause. Now, the meaning of the words emunah shalei mitzad siba is Reuven told Shimon. The Mazel told the neshama. You should know there's a God. I saw him. So the neshama now believes Reuven. But because there's a siba, there is a seer and then there's a believer. The subconscious sees, and therefore the consciousness believes. That amunah is not connected to you as you are by yourself. And therefore, it's not a certitude that there will be Mesa Nefesh. But, on the other hand, the amunah of a Yid, he be'efen shu Mesa Nafsha, that has Mesiris Nefesh for it, is b'nei she'emunah balakus, because his belief in the Eibush is etzem shalei. He's not taking it from something else or somebody else. It's the etzem of himself. V'lachein, that's why I have the classic idea. It's impossible to deny. So if you have a munah of mazel, you believe in the Eibush and lav dafki your mesa nefesh. If you have munah of yechida of etzem, then you're mesa nefesh for sure. Now, so how does this help us understand our question? But we just read in this first paragraph is very basic. That if I have a munah from the Madrega of Mazel, lav dafka, I'm going to act on it. If I have a munah from the Madrega of Yechida, I'm for sure going to act on it because it's my yetzim. Yeah. But what about the question of Moir versus Kosis Lamoir? Moir means Yechida, and Kosis Lamoir means Yechida. But we said that Moir means Yechida, but you're not Magala the Yechida, Magala only the Chaya. And Kosis Lamoir means Magala the Yechida. How do you work out that? Once we understand that Emunah from Chaya, I can believe in the Eibishter, but not necessarily do what he says. But Emunah mitzad Yechida, because I believe I act. We can now explain the following. There's a Shemei Sheuraya Mehem. The fact that Moshe Rabbeinu is a shepherd of faith. Parenthesis. Shehuzah no mefarnes es Emunah. He provides mezenis and panosot yidish Emunah. Says the Rebbe, you should know who Gam B'nei Geya, it also touches Reya Yisrael Shabachol, shepherds of Yidden in other generations. It's Pashtusa the Mesha Shabachol of the radiation of Mesha in other generations. Shemechaskim Es Hamuna the Yisrael, the strength of the Shemun. Not just Mesha Rabbeinu. The Mesha Rabbeinu's later generations also Mechazim Yisrael. Not about then. In this itself, this Kamei Fanim. One Eifan is Sheyamdu b'Mesiras Nefesh b'Kiyum Ateiru Mitzvahs. They should be ready for Mesiras Nefesh b'Kiyum Ateiru Mitzvahs. And another Eifan is that it doesn't involve Mesiras Nefesh. Okay? The L'chayra. Because L'chayra you have a kasha. How do you equate Moshe Rabbeinu with other Rebbes? That just like Moshe Rabbeinu strengthened the Munah, other Rebbes strengthened the Munah. Moshe, the fact that the physical person Moshe Rabbeinu, Zon umefanes hamuna gave mezain is and panos to yidden hamuna hukmavu abakama mekayim. It's explained in many places. V'gam b'may mazatzmi the Friedrich also explains it. Is aidei shemashpili Yisrael das balakus. Moshe Rabbeinu was a Rebbe, and he had to strengthen Yiddish hamuna. But how did he do it? By strengthening their das. I'll explain to this later on. Aidei zeh bo hamuna b'pnimis is internalize their faith. Yeah. On the other hand, the Rebbes in other generations, strengthen Yiddish She'emunah in the inyan of Mesiras Nefesh, who She'emunah di Yisrael for the Mesiras Nefesh. What does Moshe Rabbeinu have to do with Kosas Lamoid? In other words, before you ask a kasha whether Kosas Lamoid applies to all generations or to only generations of Shmad, ask a better kasha. If Kosas Lamoid is limited to generations of Shmad, how does Moshe come into the picture? Moshe was not a day of Shmad, and we all agree that Moshe Rabbeinu was the Chazak Emunah. So if Kosas Lamoid means that only in days of Shmad you Megala Emunah, then the whole pasuk breaks down, because the pasuk says V'yata Moshe Rabbeinu Tetzavas b'nei Yisrael Makasher Umachar b'nei Yisrael Merin Seif Zon Umafanas B'nei Emunah. Moshe Rabbeinu himself wasn't Shaychus to Emunah. So before you start asking me on the Kosas Lamoid, whether it applies to every generation, to only generations of Shmad, ask a simpler kasha. If Kosas Lamoid means Zeynus of Shmad, how was it connected to Moshe Rabbeinu? Says
Mitzrayim wasn't a Shmad? Mitzrayim wasn't a Shmad?
But Moshe wasn't the Rebbe in Mitzrayim. The Rebbe in Mitzrayim was Miriam and Aaron. Moshe Rabbeinu was the Rebbe after they left. Fakert, that's one of the big stories that the Eibusha insisted Moshe Rabbeinu should come. Moshe Rabbeinu was almost 80 years old. He lived 65 years out of Mitzrayim. He was a Melech in Kush for 40 years. He was by Yisrael a bunch of years. Moshe had a good life. Moshe Rabbeinu, good life. But he didn't suffer with Yidden. Miriam suffered with Yidden. Aaron suffered with Yidden. And then he came out of the wilderness and he became the girl in Yisrael. He was the Rebbe after the Yetzias Mitzrayim. So the Rebbe said, before you start asking me about Kosas Lamoid in all generations, so what about Moshe Rabbeinu? So the Rebbe, I already told you the teretz. The teretz is that there's Moed and Kosas Lamoid. And once you understand that there's Moed and Kosas Lamoid, number one, you understand that Moshe Rabbeinu was also Shaychus to Moed, even though he wasn't Shaychus to Kosas. And mainly you understand that a Rebbe in every generation, whether there is or isn't Kosas, has a Shaychus to Moed, just like Moshe Rabbeinu. Kosas is taka different. And Kosas is taka special. But in the generations where there's no Shmad, even if there was no Kosas, l'chal hapachas there was Moed. That's what the Rebbe is saying. What's the pshat? But wait, but I told you before, I can explain it. What did I tell you before, says the Rebbe? What did I tell you before? I told you before that every Rebbe had the Shaychus to Moed, even though every Rebbe doesn't have a Shaychus to Kosas Lamoid. That idea that every Rebbe had the Shaychus to Moed, Chotch Afilu, not every Rebbe has the Shaychus to Kosas Lamoid, explains Moshe Rabbeinu's Shaychus to Moed. Ubemela, all the Espashtusas the Moshe Shebechol Dor V'Dera, when there was no Shmad, also have a Shaychus to Moed. Okay? Now wait, I want to pause. I want to stop. And I want to tell you this first. What does it mean that Moshe Rabbeinu was Mamshech Das to Yidden? What does it mean that Moshe Rabbeinu was Mamshech Das to Yidden? What does it mean? Moshe Rabbeinu was a Rebbe of a generation of Jews who did not have to work for their food. They did not have to work for their water. They did not have to work for their clothes. They didn't have to work for their safety and shelter. All they did was study Torah. All they did was study Torah. And they lived literally and figuratively in a cloud. They lived in a cloud. Moshe sits with these Yidden. What's he going to preach? All day and all night they learn Torah. All they do is eat man and drink Beta Shel Miriam, which is a school for Avonas HaTorah. Exactly what does Moshe Rabbeinu preach? It's a Poshtadach. Moshe Verbringens. And by the way, when you follow the Rebbe, and you follow how the Rebbe explains Moshe Rabbeinu, you could imagine that in the beginning of Moshe Rabbeinu's Nesias, the Verbringens were much more infrequent. And towards the end, Verbringens became much more frequent, until at the end, Mamish, he was Makel, Kehiles, B'kol, Shabbos v'Shabbos, just like the Rebbe. Yeah? And in all of his Verbringens, Moshe asked one kasha: do you believe in God, or does the clouds believe for you? If tomorrow the clouds go away, what happens to you? You have to push the kasha. You're living in an anon, which envelops and incubates and protects and warms and enlightens and enriches and empowers. Yeah, is your Yiddishkeit you, or is it the environment you're in? Like in the Neshama in Gan Eden. If you could imagine that tomorrow there's no Anani Yaakov, what's going to be from your Yid? And this, he preached it, and he preached it, and he preached it till the Yidden got the message that you have to make Yiddishkeit personalized. How do you make Yiddishkeit personalized? You do a meditation. Das. That was his role. Says the Rebbe, you should know that Moshe Rabbeinu giving Yidden das has no shaychus to Kosses. But he does have a shaychus to Moed. And just like Moshe Rabbeinu, even though he has no shaychus to Kosses, has the shaychus to Moed, the same is true of his Pashtusa the Moshe b'chol dara v'dara. When there's no Shtans HaShmad and there's no Kosses, they also have a shaychus to Moed. What's the Higoyen? Now here comes Rabbi. I think the next few lines are the key to this whole Maimed. I mean, the end of the Maimed is Ananda Chiddush, but certainly to Perek Test, what we're about to read is the code to this Maimed through the first 8 Perakim for sure. Okay? Rabbi said, I want to tell you what Rebbe's going to do now, okay? He's going to disagree with the Frierdiker Rebbe in a very simple way. Or he's going to change from the Frierdiker Rebbe in a very simple way. What's going to be the change? That a Rebbe doesn't have one task, he has 2. In the Frierdiker Rebbe's mind, it says a Yid Rebbe. Nasi has one job, Lozun, or Lefanes, Yisrael, Binyan Amunah. So we have all these kashas about Kosas Lamoyer. The Rebbe is going to say every Rebbe, every Nasi, every Moshe Rabbeinu has 2 tasks. And he's going to call them, if you look inside, yeah, second line from the top, you have one word in italics. And then 3 lines after that, you have Teitzah Mizer. So the code words are Iker Yinai Mehemna and Teitzah Yinai Mehemna. That a Rebbe has 2 tasks, not 1, 2. This is the Rebbe's Chiddush. This is not in the Frierdiker Rebbe's Maimed. By dividing up the Inyan of Rebbe into 2, Iker Yinai Mehemna and Teitzah Yinai Mehemna, the Rebbe is resolving the problem. Let's read. Based on what I told you, that not every Rebbe has the shaychus to Kosses, but every Rebbe has the shaychus to Moed, we can explain the relationship between tzaddikim, rabbeim, nesiyah Yisrael, who are not in Deiras Hashmad, and the inyan of Arei Amun. She'iker ha'inyan derei mehemne, the most important thing about Arei Mehemne is zeshu zonu mefanes hamunat, that he feeds and he provides parnasa to the Amunah itself. Now, what's the lashon? What was the lashon we had in Perek Gimel? What was the lashon we had on page Lamed Hey? The lashon we had on page in Perek Gimel was Zon u'mefanes es Yisrael b'Yenemar. You have Amunah. Zon u'mefanes means Moshe Rabbeinu gives parnasa and mezenes to your Amunah, to your consciousness, to Yisrael. What does it say now? Zon u'mefanes es Amunah atma. What does this mean? Not that Hashem gives Amunah to your consciousness, but that Hashem adds Yechida to your subconscious. He changes. The Frierdiker Rebbe's lashon is Zon u'mefanes es Yisrael. That means the conscious Jew. The Rebbe says Zon u'mefanes es Emunah. He adds something which is higher than the mazel to the mazel. That's the chiddush. The first inyan of a Rebbe, every Rebbe has a feather. It's a Yechida feather, and he tickles the Yechida of a Yid. What happens when he tickles the Yechida of a Yid? The Yechida comes on into the Chaya, which is called here Emunah. And he's Zon u'mefanes es Emunah atzma. The Chaya is moved. So the Rebbe says, at the Frierdiker Rebbe says, Zon u'mefanes es Yisrael, which means to awaken Emunah in the conscious Jew. I say, Zon u'mefanes es Emunah atzma, he he awakens the subconscious Jew. In other words, that the emunah shouldn't be only from Chaya, it should be emunah from Chaya, which is empowered by Yechida. Let's read. In other words, she'emunah tiyah, that the emunah should be Leira kameshi mitada giluyim, not just an emunah from Chaya, from Mazal alone, parenthesis. Mitzadesh an shomesh alamal rei lakus, the level of Mazal sees godliness. Ella mitad etzem and neshama, from the level of Yechida. But you hear the chap. When the Rebbe, in a day which is not of Shema, touches the Yechida, so that the emunah of Chaya should be bepnimius, what you feel consciously is only the emunah of Chaya. The Yechida is not revealed. How do I know this? I'm going to ask for cheat. Okay? Turn to Ha'ara 56. Turn to footnote 56, which is on page Mem Aleph, if you have my pages. 56. Look at how it's the longest footnote in the Maimah, yes? V'yashleima, middle paragraph. Please look inside. Hamshachas ha'emuna b'das. When Moshe Rabbeinu brings emuna into das, zeh shenimshach begilui, what the person experiences consciously, is emuna mitzad mazle chazir. It's emuna only for the madrega of mazel. Parenthesis, makif the chayas. The only place where the word chaya is used in this entire mind. Ela shehachibur, the emuna shalamayla midas. But the Eibishter connects the emuna which is hard nas, the emuna of Yechida, imadas, with the das. Ayadem shachat etzam haneshama. The Moshe Rabbeinu touches the Yechida. Hainu shagili the etzam haneshama. The etzam haneshama is revealed. But rak nesinas keach lebechinas emuna shevitzad makif the chaya. The Yechida is revealed enough so that the makif of emunah of Chaya should be bepnimius. But v'leishem izgals etzam haneshama asma. The Yechida is not revealed. The Rebbe said befedish what I just told you. That if it's not the shnas hashmad, Moshe Rabbeinu touches the Yechida, and by touching the Yechida, he's empowering the emunah of Chaya. By empowering the emunah of Chaya becomes pneumistic. Pneumistic means if I believe in God, I do what God says, but the Yechida itself is not revealed. Says the Rebbe, the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu sits and verbrings with Chasidim, and he talks to them about das, who teitzah, there's that word, it's a consequence of the fact, shuzon umefades es amuna atma, that he nourishes and gives parnasa to the emunah itself. In other words, hamshachas agili ve'emunah, the emunah should be revealed, k'meishehi mitat etzam haneshama, based on the inspiration of the etzam haneshama. The canal sif hey, as I said before, tonight, earlier in the shir, the hamshachas amuna bepnimius bedas, the only way for the emunah to be revealed bepnimius is idegili hiskashas atmis etzam haneshama, revealing the etzam haneshama. So what did the Rebbe just read? What did I just tell you? What did I just explain to you? Moshe Rabbeinu was a Rebbe, and he verbringed about das. What's tied to verbring about das? He talked to Hasidim about personal integrity. That you shouldn't be a yid because you're living in a cloud. You should be a yid because your own personal avoid. That's what his job was. For Moshe to do this effectively, he had to reach the Yechida, and he did. But he reached the Yechida in such a way that the Yechida itself wasn't revealed, but rather that the Yechida affected that the Chaya should be revealed. But the Yechida remained hidden. I-O-W. In other words. And here comes the code, right? Every Rebbe has two tasks. One task, all Rebbes have the same. Another task, no two Rebbes have the same. What tasks do all Rebbes have in common? That a Rebbe sits in his cheder, sits in his room by himself, and he touches the neshama of Yidden. This is a secret task, it's a hidden task, it's a pneumistic task. The Rebbe does it b'chadrech adorim azis bazich alein in simmer. He sits in his own room and he's me'ere rachem rab and Yidden b'chol mokum shehem. What the Rebbe does in his room is he touches the Yechida. Then the Rebbe comes out to the oilam and he verbrings. He preaches, he leads, he guides, he counsels, he encourages. The second task is called teitzas in Yerayim Mehem. The first task that he does b'chadrech adorim is ikir in Yerayim Mehem. So in every single generation, all Rebbes sit in their rooms in private and they do ikir inyan raya mehemda, which is lazor nefan esamun asma. It's a secret avodah. Then comes teitzas in Yerayim Mehemda. So in Moshe Rabbeinu's generation, the Teitzos in Yerayim Nehemah was done through Das. In Mordechai's generation, the Teitzos in Yerayim Nehemah was done through Mesiras Nefesh. And of course, later in the Maimah, we're going to learn that in our generation, the Teitzos in Yerayim Nehemah is done by wanting Mashiach. But the difference between a Rebbe and a Rebbe is only in the Teitzos in Yerayim Nehemah, not in the Iker in Yerayim Nehemah. The Teitzos in Yerayim Nehemah changes from Rebbe to Rebbe. And included in that difference is that some Rebbes are Magala Yechida, and some Rebbes are just Ma'eda the Yechida and Magala the Chaya. But when it comes to Iker in Yerayim Nehemah, all Rebbes are exactly the same. Every Rebbe, every Nasi touches the Yechida, and he wakes up the Yechida that it should affect the Chaya. In generations of Shmad, he reveals the Yechida itself. And in generations with no Shmad, he doesn't reveal the Yechida itself. The Yechida is Neis and Koyach, and the Chaya should be Nizgala. And this is how the Rebbe answers his question. The Friedrich Rebbe says in his Maimer that every Rebbe has the Shaykhs to Kosas Lamoyer. So the Rebbe asks, not every Rebbe has the Shaykhs to Kosas Lamoyer, only in Deinos HaShmad does the Rebbe have the Shaykhs to Kosas Lamoyer. So the Rebbe answers, true, only in Deinos HaShmad does a Rebbe have the Shaykhs to Kosas Lamoyer in the aspect of Teitos in Yerayim Nehemah. But when it comes to Ikir in Yerayim Nehemah, all Rebbes, it's not about Kosas, it's just about Moyer. So all Rebbes have a shaykhus to Moyer in Ikir in Yerayim Nehemah, but not all Rebbes have a shaykhus to Moyer in Teitzos in Yerayim Nehemah. Let's finish the paragraph. The bezeh sheba deides shehut chulu mesiras nefesh bepeil. It's taka emes that in those unique generations, when there's a need for mesiras nefesh bepeil, chiyas goreh Yisrael, the Yiddish shepherds. That means the labeim the nesimis pashtus the meisha strengthens the emunah the Yisrael shtei b'mesiras nefesh the emunah shmei from mesiras nefesh. Says the Rebbe in his gal ho'i and the Yerayim Nehemah the binyan zed reveals the idea of Meisha Rabbeinu in this aspect. And if you look in footnote 37, he says that Eha 56. I read 56 with you. Or you said even more, even Meisha after than Meisha Rabbeinu. Because Meisha Rabbeinu Taka touched the Yechida, but he didn't reveal the Yechida, he revealed only Chaya. Mash Einkin in the generations of Shmad, Ham Shachas Vegili Hamun. The bringing down of the revealing of Munah Kumoishi Mitadat Samanasha for the Yechidisha Benefesh. Aides Pashtus, Ali Meisha Vis Pashtus, the Leisha Bechol Doros, the respective Rebbes in various generations, says the Rebbe Ikir is Galuso, but Mesiras Nefesh B'Peil, revealed primarily to Mesiras Nefesh B'Peil. So, as I say in Yiddish, Hakel Bo Makemi B'Shalom. I guess that wasn't Yiddish, but it was Yiddish. Yeah? Every Rebbe touches Yechida. And because he touches Yechida, the Munah comes with Pnimius. But not every Rebbe is Megala the Yechida B'Pnimius. Some Rebbe use the Yechida as a Nois in Koyach for the Chayat to come B'Pnimius. That's called Moed. Some Rebbe, some Megal the Yechida itself. That's called Kosas LaMoed. Okay, we're going to stop. If somebody wants to say something, you're welcome to say it. We learned Perek Hey and Perek Vov, which is a very important part of the Bible, by the way.
In practical terms, what's the difference between having a revealed Yechida and Chaya or having a revealed Yechida?
The difference is this. If you have a revealed Chaya because of Yechida, your day-to-day life is much richer. But the power of going out of limitations you don't have. If the Yechid itself is revealed, the day-to-day living as a Jew is lav dafka so special. But the readiness to go into fire is very real. So one is like lightning in a bottle, but it's a higher lightning. The other is not like lightning in a bottle, but it's much more steady. You follow? Okay, the Yeshir is over, and now the Farbrengen starts. The Elam is nicht gekommen, the Bacham are not here yet, except for Bettel.